A new report identifies some surprising factors in what makes a church grow or die. And no, it doesn't have to do with your band's skinny jeans. Also, the Disney and Fox merger is officially going down. We'll tell you what that means for the future of entertainment. And speaking of the future of entertainment, does Kendrick Lamar have a new album on the way? A few clues point to probably yes. It's all coming up next. This is Relevant Daily.
Relevant Daily.
Hey everyone, I'm Cameron Strang. Welcome to Relevant Headquarters and welcome to Relevant Daily, where we bring you what you need to know at the intersection of faith and culture. Now, before we get into those stories, I want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all possible with Squarespace. They have award-winning templates, customizable settings, even powerful e-commerce solutions, all without a single plugin. And right now, Squarespace is offering Relevant Daily viewers a special deal. Head over to squarespace.com/relevant for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your site, use the offer code RELEVANT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I've used Squarespace for years, love them, and I'm very grateful they're sponsoring Relevant Daily. All right, to tell us more about these stories, this is a new one, big study and some industry news. Please welcome our very own Tyler Huckabee.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, so tell me what's going on about this study that figured out what determines churches grow or shrink?
That's right. So this study comes from Lifeway, from their research wing. They did a study of churches over the past 3 years to find out whether or not most churches are growing or shrinking. Most Protestant churches, I should say, are growing or shrinking. And overall, what they found over the last 3 years is that most churches stayed about the same or actually saw a decline. Only about 40% of churches in the U.S. saw any sort of significant growth, by which they mean growth of over 5%. What's interesting is what kind of unites those churches, or what things those churches that grew have in common. One very, very significant factor that churches that are growing have in common is the age of the pastor. Younger pastors, as it turns out, are quite a bit better for churches. If your pastor is between the ages of 18 and 44 years old, you're way more likely to see growth than if you're 45 and older. So if you've got a teenage pastor, maybe don't despair just yet. That's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, I don't know any churches that have 18-year-old pastors, but hey, apparently they're booming. They're booming somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you haven't tried it, maybe give it a shot. But another one is the actual size of the church itself. Most Protestant churches in America are quite small. They only have about 100 people or less in them, and those churches are actually getting smaller.
Oh, wow.
Whereas churches that have 250 people or more, about 60% of those churches are growing. So smaller churches getting smaller, big churches getting bigger.
That's really interesting. I mean, I go to a church that would fall in the latter category. It is growing and it is big. And I can't, what's interesting though is a lot of church plants start out small, and there's a lot of church planting going on. I mean, ARC and other things, you would think that would skew the stats a little bit, but I'm even wondering if, as much as those are growing, how much less the more established old small churches are even declining even more. It's interesting because it doesn't factor in church planting.
And I think what we're seeing here is sort of the effect of those rural churches out in those like hundreds and hundreds of small towns that aren't connected to things like ARC or sort of any of the big like church growth initiatives. They just kind of been doing the same thing for a long time. And in a lot of cases, they're getting older, and those towns aren't seeing a lot of growth, and so neither are the churches in them. I mean,
that's a huge issue in the rural economies, is that the generation coming up leaves and they're moving out and they're urbanizing. And so, I'm actually interested to see if the rural churches, which are the smaller churches, looking at the population decline in those areas, if it's maybe the churches are actually holding even. You know what I mean? They're not declining. It's just the population is declining. It'll be interesting.
Well, you're getting at something that the study actually found, which is, are the churches that are growing, are they making new Christians, or are they just taking Christians from other places from their churches and sort of bringing them, vacuuming them into their own growth? And as it turns out, the answer, as you might not be super surprised to find out, is largely the latter. It looks like most churches that are growing are actually taking churchgoers from other churches and bringing them into their own folds here. 54% of pastors surveyed said they saw 10 or fewer new commitments to Jesus in the last 3 years. And 8% actually said they didn't see any new converts to Christianity. In other words, the churches that are are seeing growth mostly aren't getting them from new Christians. They're either getting new churchgoers who move to town from smaller areas and are coming to the big city, or people who just decide to move churches, leave the one they're at and go somewhere that has a little more of what they want. Those are the churches that are growing. And that kind of shows some deeper issues that these churches are facing that could end up being a problem in the future.
A lot of these more contemporary non-denominational megachurches, in my experience, are the Hillsongs, they have a major emphasis on salvations. I think Hillsong New York had like 25,000 converts last year. My church here in Orlando had 2,600 last year of commitments to Christ and things like that, because every service emphasizes it at the end of the service. A lot of the more traditional churches don't. They don't. There's not an altar call the way that a lot of the more charismatic and non-denominational churches, which are the bigger ones and then growing most likely, are emphasizing. That's interesting. Wow.
Because the altar call started to feel sort of passé after Billy Graham, right? And
Right.
it became more in vogue to be very seeker sensitive, to be very careful about not wanting to offend anybody or push anybody into a decision, which made a lot of sense at the time. But also what that means is you're not going to be getting new, as to use some very crass language, you're not getting new clientele. That means you're just taking other people's churchgoers into your own, and those people are going to keep getting older, and you're not making new Christians.
That's really interesting. All right, speaking of interesting, we don't normally bring like industry news or media news, but there's a huge merger that is actually moving forward officially, and that Disney and Fox are becoming one company. Tell us what that means for the future of entertainment.
Well, this has been going down for a long time, and it's been watched very, very closely, because this brings up a lot of potentially huge antitrust questions and questions of how big is too big, because Disney already has 40% of all entertainment media already, pre-Fox merger. 40% of all entertainment media is connected to Disney somehow. After this Fox deal goes down, which could happen as soon as this week, possibly next week, they estimated could own a way bigger share, maybe as much as 60% of all entertainment media would fall under the Disney umbrella. And we really don't have a precedent for that level of monopolization over any sort of culture, let alone this one. So I don't think we could really overstate the influence that Disney is going to have over the things that we watch, that we listen to, that we read, the way we take in the news and sports entertainment and the movies we watch. Obviously, this has big implications for the summer movie that are going to control almost entirely the blockbuster market. But this is also what kind of movies can they push in the Oscars for the Academy? What kind of TV shows end up getting made? Where do you get your news from? I don't think we're really prepared to, no matter how excited you are about it, because there's a lot of potentially cool things that could come out of the merger and Disney having rights to things like the X-Men and the Alien franchise and Avatar. There's also a lot of kind of scary questions about the conglomerate that we're talking about here.
It really is crazy. I mean, I remember when Disney bought ABC back in the 90s, they didn't know what to do with their new toy. And so do you remember TGIF, every show went on Disney vacations, and America's Funniest Home Videos, always Disney vacation. It was always this cross promotion. It was horrible. Luckily, it seems like they've calmed that down a little bit because they own so much now.
Right.
But it probably won't change a lot. But I think it will change. The consolidation, I think, is directly to adjust how consumers are changing how they're watching TV and what TV is. I mean, we obviously know that Disney is going to be launching its own streaming service to compete with Netflix.
That's right.
This year or next. And all of the Marvel, all of the Disney content on Netflix, which is a lot, Star Wars, all going away. And it's going to be on this new one. And now they have all the Fox stuff there too. I mean, that's New Girl. That's all and it's not even just Fox Television, it's Fox Studios. I mean, it's this is all going into, if I'm Netflix, I'm a little worried right now, is what I'm saying. So.
Netflix would be right to be worried, because what Disney is also bringing in now is Hulu. So you're combining this new Disney streaming service with Hulu. That's the new biggest kid on the block.
That's crazy. Things are about to change. Speaking of things about to change in music, why are you saying that Kendrick Lamar might be dropping a new album soon?
Well, you got to know where to look for the clues, Cameron. and I'm a big fan of Kendrick Lamar, so I've got my eye on his social media profile as always. Something that happened, this happened just yesterday, last night, is Kendrick Lamar changed all of his social profiles to a blackout. He blacked out his profile picture on Twitter, blacked out his Twitter banner, and everything on Facebook as well. Last time he did this, he's done this once before. That was in April of 2017, and that happened just before he announced announced that his new album DAMN came out, and so that which was a very big moment in my life and in music. So if history is any guide, I think fans of Kendrick Lamar should keep their eyes on his Twitter profiles, because something looks like there's about to be some sort of announcement.
I ordered the special vinyl from him, like from his website, and he signed it and stuff. And when the package arrived and I opened it, my 8-year-old son at the time was like, "Ooh, Dad, we not allowed to." It's like, I didn't even put it on.
Did you tell him to pronounce it darn?
Yeah. We don't say that, buddy. We don't say that. Well, that's exciting. And we're long overdue. We also need some new Chance the Rapper, by the way. If you could, I know we just got married this week, but if you could tell him to get in the studio, that'd be really nice.
The rumor is July.
I like it.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Also, you got your finger on the pulse. All right. Thanks, Tyler. Hey, thanks for watching today's Relevant Daily, everybody. Hey, remember to follow along online throughout the day. We're on Twitter at Relevant, Instagram at Relevant Magazine, and all the latest and best is at relevantmagazine.com. You can see our latest audio, video content throughout the day, our latest news updates and magazine features, and a lot more. Go check out relevantmagazine.com, bookmark it, and come back frequently. I think we post like 20 things a day there. Hey, thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. Remember, go to squarespace.com/relevant for your free trial. And when you sign up or launch your site with Squarespace, use offer code RELEVANT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Tune in every weekday right here, Relevant Daily. We're also an audio podcast. Go find us wherever you get your podcasts as well. We will see you tomorrow. Relevant Daily.
Relevant Daily.